U.S. judge extends pause on Trump's plan to freeze federal grants loans. A U.S. judge on Monday extended a pause on the Trump administration's plan to freeze federal loans, grants, and other financial assistance, saying it may have run roughshod over Congress's constitutional authority over government spending. U.S. District Judge Lauren Alekan in Washington wrote opens new tab that a funding freeze outlined in a memo from the White House Budget Office last week would be potentially catastrophic for organizations that rely on federal funding to carry out their missions and provide services to the public. Her ruling, issued at the request of several advocacy groups, meant the policy is now subject to 2 temporary restraining orders. A federal judge in Rhode Island on Friday issued a similar order at the behest of Democratic attorneys general from 22 states and the District of Columbia. Alekan had last week ordered a short administrative pause preventing the Office of Management and Budget, OM&B, from moving forward with its policy while she considered whether to issue the longer temporary restraining order. OM&B in its memo had said the funding freeze was necessary to ensure funding complied with President Donald Trump's executive orders on immigration, climate change, diversity, and other issues. After first trying to clarify the funding pause, OM&B then fully withdrew its memo on Wednesday. The Republican president's administration had argued the withdrawal should have had the effect of ending the lawsuit before Alekan by a group of advocacy organizations. But the judge, an appointee of Trump's Democratic predecessor Joe Biden, said a temporary restraining order was still necessary because funding problems remained and because there was nothing stopping OM&B from reissuing the policy. She said furthering the president's wishes cannot be a blank check for OM&B to do as it pleases. OM&B's memo implicated as much as $3 trillion in financial assistance, she said, a breathtakingly large sum of money to suspend practically overnight. The policy appeared arbitrary and may have run afoul of Congress' authority over government spending under the U.S. Constitution, the judge said. It did not indicate when that freeze would end, if it was to end at all, Alekan wrote, and it attempted to wrest the power of the purse away from the only branch of government entitled to wield it. Her order will remain in place while she considers whether to issue an even longer preliminary injunction. The U.S. Department of Justice, which is defending the Trump administration's policies in court, declined to comment. Alekan's decision was hailed by Diane Yentel, the head of the National Council of Nonprofits, which had sued last week alongside several other groups to block what she said would have been a reckless attempt to halt funding. During a hearing on Monday, a lawyer for the advocacy organizations said some recipients of federal grants were still struggling to access funding despite the memo's withdrawal and the order issued on Friday by the Rhode Island judge. We know the policy remains in place, Kevin Friedel, a lawyer for the advocacy groups at the liberal-leaning group Democracy Forward, told Alekan at the hearing. A lawyer with the Justice Department, Dan Lashui, argued Trump retained the authority to shape funding priorities under executive orders that were not challenged in the lawsuit. The president is allowed to direct subordinate agencies and supervise their activities, Shui told the judge.